and welcome everybody. This is Roland Hartmann from graphicinmotion.com, and in this tutorial I will show you how to customize my clean title logo After Effects template. This template is a really clean and simple title and logo animation template. If you take a look, we have one placeholder which is building up at first, and then it is transitioning into the other placeholder. And you can of course choose whether you put your logo into the first placeholder or a title into the second one, or titles in both or logos in both. So this is totally up to you. It's very easy and very versatile. So let's take a look how we can customize this template. First of all, I will show you how you can change the title in the first placeholder. To change the title in the first placeholder, we open up the composition right here, the placeholder number 1 composition, and double click this, and you see that this is a simple text layer. So you can just double click and then enter your title. Let's say enter title 01. And now let's position this a little bit. I think it's quite good. Maybe it's a little bit too big. Then we can of course make this a little bit smaller. Something like that. And if we take a look to the render composition now, you see that the first placeholder is now updated and we have this first title animating in right here. If you want to import a logo, you first of all have to go to File and choose Import and then File. Now let's navigate to a folder with the logo. And in this case, I want to put the logo into my second placeholder, so I will open up my placeholder 2 composition by double clicking, and you see we also have a simple text layer here, which is a placeholder. So I will drag in my logo above this text here, and now it's way too big, so I press S and then I scale it down, let's say to something around 30%, and I will turn off this text layer. And let's take a look at the render composition now, and you see we have the first title here, and then it will transition into my logo. So this is basically a very fast customization. There are of course a few more options, and to change these, let's select the setup layer in the render composition and let's take a look at the effect controls panel. I will make this a little bit bigger and I will just put my cursor right in the middle here so that we can see something from the transition. You see we have a few settings here. First of all, we have this slider that's called columns. And if I decrease this, let's say to about 20, you will immediately see what this does. This just reduces the number of columns, and now this transition is a little bit more like blocky and rough. And if we increase this to about 100, you see then we get these smaller columns here. And the standard value here is 200, so you can choose whatever you want to use. Then the next option is logo reflection on off. If we take a look at this final screen here, you see that we have this slight reflection going on in our logo, which is kind of making it a little bit shiny. And if I turn this off here in the checkbox, you see that this will be turned off. Then we have the logo reflection position. If you want to change the position on the y-axis, you can do this here. So if you decrease this, it will go up, and if you increase this value, the reflection will go down. The standard value here is 330. The next option is the logo reflection rotation. If you rotate this more, you see that now our reflection is rotating a bit more, and we can turn this down by reducing the number. So let's enter 9. This is the standard value. Then we have the logo reflection opacity. If you increase this, then the reflection will become more opaque, which will make the logo look more shiny. So let's turn this back to the standard value of 30. The next option is the logo bevel. If you take a close look here, I will increase the quality here a bit. You see that we have a small bevel going on this logo, and if I uncheck this box, then the bevel is turned off. The same applies for the shadow. So if we take a look at the shadow, which is down here at the floor, and if I turn this off, then the shadow will be invisible. And then I have this flare, which is just traveling through in the end. Let me quickly take a frame where we can see it. I have to move out here a little bit. So I think around here the flare is visible now. And if I turn this off, you see that now the flare is invisible. The last option that you have is to set the colors. First of all, you can change the flare color. Let's take over maybe a color of my logo, maybe this pink here. You see now the flare is kind of pinkish. And we can of course also change the color of the background. The first color is the color in the middle, so we could change this to, or maybe even a darker color if you want. Will probably not look really good, but just as an example, let's do that. And let's change the second color to black to create a really dark version of our logos. Now let's take a look what this does. And you see now we have our first title here. You see their flare is already visible and it is transitioning to our logo. Okay, so this is the basic customization. I want to give you two more hints. Of course, if you enter the placeholder and if you work with titles, you can always come in here and change the look of your font in the character window. So you can choose whatever font you like, and you can of course also change the color. Let's do this quickly because I made a dark layout. Now let's change this to white. So let's take a look at the second placeholder. You can also of course add a subtitle here, and therefore you could use this text layer that is already created. So let's enable this again. Let's double click here and I will write graphicinmotion.com, and I will just make this way smaller and maybe also use another font here instead of the bold one. I will use the light one, and I will take over the color from my logo and I will move it down like so. Now let's take a look at this final screen here, and you see now of course my placeholder, my logo gets updated with this subtitle, and it will also be part of my transition from title 1 to my logo. Okay. So this is it. I hope that you like this template and that you create some nice animations with it. If you have any questions, then feel free to contact me through VideoHive or through my website, which is www.graphicinmotion.com anytime. Thank you very much for watching, and I really hope to see you soon. Goodbye.